because that would be ill-gotten gains. That'd be breach of trust, right? And maybe I'm talking too deep for a lot of people, but I think you guys are some pretty sharp cats on here. And
no,
so,
I'm getting you. I think
Keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Oh, Wolf.
For listening, man. I hear that I hear this a lot and from a different perspective, so it's interesting to hear it from another perspective.
banks take deposits, all right? Mm-hmm. So where's your deposit slip? Where's your receipt? Where's your receipt?
Exactly.
The deposit is a loan.
Receipt for your promissory note. I bet nobody got one. We shut down cases with that shit all the time. You know, it's never too late for you to write one up. Yeah. Never too late for you to write one up and declare that they gave you nothing, no consideration in return for the value you gave them. Therefore, it manifests a trust. A trust can be created the same way a contract can be created. It can be implied. Their actions can create a trust. It can be orally expressed, or it can be in written form. The fact that you gave them something of value and don't have a receipt to prove the value that you extended to them, then they turn around and call you the debtor, and then they default you and send you a bunch of slanderous, liable, defaming letters saying you're the debtor and you owe a debt and blah, blah.
Shit. Yeah.
How do you personally feel about the SF30, 1414, 1416, and 1418?
Say that again.
How do you feel about the SF30? No, how do you feel about those? I like the SF30 because you can modify or cancel the contracts that you didn't enter into with full disclosure, but you can also take that form and make them do whatever you want since the contract exists. And then you got the 1414, 1416, and 1418. I like to use those because since they already have their hands in the cookie jar that they're not supposed to be in, I direct them to give me more money. I direct them to go ahead and give them the permission to go in there where they've been at and do what I want them to do. I'm about to use those with the Social Security Administration.
Yeah, that's where you want to know the stipends, the futures, the annuities, the accrual rate, you know, because the trustee's getting those funds every month. And they're actually sending you a statement showing you that they're in constructive possession of your credits and debits. Credit this account and debit this account. We're done. It's paper. We never finish completing the transaction. And therefore, they hold our property in abeyance because they don't know who you are. That's the importance of filing the IRS form 2848 power of attorney. I did my own power of attorney. But if you use their forms, it expedites it because they recognize that shit, right? Power of attorney to the 2848. Also, there's a SF 321. That clears you for power of attorney to receive checks from the United States Treasury. Why haven't none of you guys filled that shit out? See, part of the problem is, and part of the reason you're not getting your credits and debits or your account debited and credited properly is because they don't even know who the fuck you are.
Mm-hmm.
You named that last.
Giving them notice.
Cut you out. Can you mention that one again?
SF 322 and 321, they're hard to find, but when you find them, there's special power of attorney forms. And then there's also one for the DTC you can fill out as well in the DTCC, because when you were born, the county birth record was sent to the county comptroller of the currency first that created an account in the county for you. Then they sent the original birth application to the state registrar that created the estate. So you have an account and you have now the state registrar, who's the chief probate officer that creates the estate. Then that birth certificate application then goes to the Treasury. The Treasury sends it to the Treasury of the United States. The Treasury of the United States then goes to cooperative agreement with the United States and sends it over to the DTC. Okay, the DTC turns around and issues another security from that birth application, because remember, it's a pledge of your future your future labor and precious value time commodity. So then the DTC turns around and kicks the proceeds from that to the Federal Reserve, which allows them to go to the comptroller of the currency to print new Federal Reserve notes. Before that happens, though, the DTC turns around and kicks over that birth certificate application, which is the original security proving that you have the beneficial interest in it. They turn around and kick it over to the IMF, and the IMF tells the Social Security Administration to go ahead and issue out a Social Security account number so they can keep track of all the new securities and money you create in the economy during your existence. So when your mom registers you for kindergarten, that creates a new security. When you go to the doctor's office and they ask you to fill out an application, that creates a new security. When you go to get a car loan, a fucking house loan, or whatever, all of those applications create money.
Performance bonds.
And that's why people say, oh, don't get a social security number, don't get a birth certificate, have your baby at home, all that stuff. That's all fucking nonsensical horseshit. And the reason that people go to prison for that is because they're actually denying their children their inheritance because the United States owes them. And that's how they prove. Otherwise, people from Russia would come over here and be fleecing your estate. And I'm not saying they're not, because they are. They're doing it through corporations and 501c3s, 508c1as, and so on and so forth. But a Russian citizen just can't come over here and use their credentials and get the full faith and credit of the United States. It's different. All right. Russia has the same setup, but it's different amongst the countries. So like, you're not allowed to take a United States security out of the United States, which means if you take a birth certificate out of the United States and try and negotiate it in a foreign country, they'll fucking hammer you for being an enemy belligerent combatant negotiating a United States security without the authorization of the United States. They will smoke your ass for that. I know people that have done it. They went to prison for 5 years for doing it. And they went over to England because they knew a banker, and a banker fucking turned around and put a $10 million bond on the birth certificate and issued them a couple $1 million. And when they came back to the United States, they were arrested immediately at customs.
Crazy.
Immediately. And what they were charged with was laundering United States securities outside the United States without the United States permission.
That makes sense because
financial
the birth
crime.
certificate is a bond. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you go and have it authenticated. And for what country? Oh, I'm going to go to Canada. Oh, I'm going to go to Brazil. Oh, I'm going here. That is the bond and the indemnification in case you cause harm, damage, loss, or hardship over in that other country. Then that country turns around and takes that bond and that security that the United States knows is there and turns around and exchanges it back with the United States to settle the damages. It's all paper for paper, people. It's all paper for paper. It's all ones and zeros on a fucking ledger. It used to be on books, and now it's on like QuickBooks and electronic digital shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you think the Pentagon got away with losing $21 trillion? We just lost $21 trillion. I'm like, what? You motherfuckers are supposed to be the most intelligent motherfuckers ever. You went to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Notre Dame, fucking,
They didn't lose shit. They know exactly
you didn't lose shit, motherfuckers. You didn't lose a fucking thing. You're thieves. But what they're doing is claiming things that we've abandoned. Because we have been indoctrinated to think a certain way and not to study what's really going on. And the whole system's been designed for our benefit. But if you don't say nothing about it, well, hell, we can't just let this just lay around. Could fall into enemy belligerent combatants' hands and terrorists throughout the world. So I guess we'll just whisk it away for safekeeping, and then we'll underwrite it because we're trustees. We have to be paid. So we'll do K1 disbursements and underwrite the value that they abandon, and we'll put it in a trust, which we can never touch, but a trustee still has to be paid for his services rendered. So we'll underwrite their trust with bonds and securities, and we'll float those through the market so we can get paid. Because they can't touch the trust funds. They're still there. Even after you die, they're still there.
Yeah.
Bareboat charters, baby. Law of mercantile, law of merchant.
Get the real birth certificate from the Vatican because I'm under
a birth certificate, and it's not at the Vatican anyway. It's the application that holds the value.
Yeah.
A certificate of title is mere shadow of equitable title, and you don't actually have to be in physical possession and constructive possession of the actual title. You just have to be able to express your interest in it.
Is it true that the birth certificates that we do have is just a receipt?
It's exactly what it is. It's a warehouse receipt. It's a bill of lading. It's a bill of manifest. It shows the cargo, the delivery. It's docketed, for fuck's sake. It's got a docket number on it.
It's a certificate. It's basically like a certificate of something being recorded. So whatever recorded is just a receipt of a record.
And what's a receipt? Evidence of value given and
the record.
value
The record is the
yet
real
to have
title.
been received.
Yep, the record is the real title. The certificate is just the receipt of something being recorded.
Can we get our hands on
So
the
the
application?
infant died at the hospital. The child is a term of chattel paperwork that can be bought and sold, which is the birth certificate. Okay, so that's the child. And then the baby went home with mom, never to be heard of again, because your mom and dad were supposed to give notice to the county comptroller and the county recorder's office that the baby is alive and well, and you're supposed to do a birth return before they turn 7 years old. Nobody does it. So go create a birth return and give it to your county comptroller and the county treasurer and the county recorder's office and have it recorded on public record. And the reason the hospital does the whole birth certificate thing and everything is because they get a huge financial kickback and interest. So I have a friend that had a daughter that had over $1 million worth of surgeries and stuff because she had brain injuries. And she went in and released her beneficial interest in the birth certificate. Okay, she says, I'm going to release any beneficial interest I may have in this certificate to offset and discharge any bill or any amount due and owing throughout our stay. And the hospital administrator came down with the assistant hospital administrator. They took the document from her, and she goes, and I want you to know that my daughter is the beneficiary, and I am the trustee of this trust, and I am charged with the duty of making sure that things are run properly. So if you have any administrative questions at all, hospital administrator, you can speak to me directly, and I will tell you how to handle the affair. And they said, yes, ma'am. And they rolled out the red carpet for that little girl. And she never has got a bill. And she found out through the hospital administration that if they would have billed her, it would have been in the millions.
Oh, yeah.
Never seen a single bill, which a bill isn't a bill anyway, because true bills due and owing evidence of debt. True bills. What they send you is a statement, a billing statement, which proves that it's already been paid. Because you learn this when you do business. Okay, first you do the estimate, or you give a quote, right? Estimate subject to change. If you give a direct quote, that's exactly what the service or product's going to cost. Then you negotiate the terms and conditions, right? And then you fulfill the obligation. So you got time, date of execution, services to be performed. And then when you perform, what do you give them? An invoice, right? Then when they pay the invoice, they give you the invoice back, and you give them what? See, the invoice is the true bill. Then you give them back the contract. And now they're back in constructive possession of their contract, which is the actual money. So the invoice is the true bill. There can't be a debt without a true bill being issued. So you go from an estimate to a signed contract. Then you give them the invoice, and once they pay and satisfy the invoice, you give them back the contract, which is the true bill for services rendered. But nobody ever does that shit.
No one ever actually endorses it correctly either.
And that's why they try to say the United States is so much in debt. And if you look at it, they burning and people think there's money. They burning this stuff, so that can't be the problem. Because if they was in debt, they would pay the debt instead of burning it. So it's got to be. So that should have triggered something in people's minds right there.
But there's no money. It's credit and debit. So
that's right. So
the evidence of the credit and debit? It's your value, your precious value, time, commodity, and energy is the value, is the gold, is the silver, is energy, which has the system working. The paper is merely a reflection of the value being exchanged. It's a means of being able to exchange with barter and trade. And that's why the 1099.
Let me ask you a question. See if y'all can catch on with this, because it's getting to the point that we are getting to the bottom of this, to where all of this is being exposed. So when we actually sign our signature, when we
Yes.
negotiate with a car dealership or whatever, they try to say, let's see if we can get you financed. What if I say no? Let me see the contract, because I got my own financing, and
Mm-hmm.
be able to get my bank to do whatever, and discharge through when we get in our proper standing as trustee and acting on behalf of the trust and selling things
Do you
to
know
the
why it's a
trust.
law that the window sticker has to be on the window at the automobile dealership on the car? Do you know why that is? Because that's the offer, and you can convert that into a bill of exchange and satisfy it. Just with your words
Yeah, so
alone,
imagine
you can
because
hand that
it,
back to them and satisfy the
oh
tax
my God,
obligation
oh my
and turn
God,
around and walk off the lot with the fucking
yes,
automobile.
without
File your
even putting
UCC one on
nothing
it, showing your
down.
proprietary interest in keeping a
Oh
receipt
my
of
God.
the offer that you accepted and converted into a bill of exchange and returned it to them in good faith with clean hands, and show your interest on a UCC1 commercial filing that you've satisfied the obligation.
Accepted in honor, accepted for payment, and accepted for discharge
Now,
for settlement and closure of that account.
I
And
peeled
sell it
off,
to
you
the
want to know how
trust
I
as
learned
trust
that? I
property.
peeled off the window sticker one time. I was test driving a GT500, a Ford Mustang GT500, and 600 horsepower. I had that guy shitting bricks. It was so much fucking fun. 150 down the interstate, and he was fucking squealing like a pig. Sir, we should probably take the next ride. I'm like, yeah, no, that ain't happening, son. I looked at my wife at the time, and I said, I was being sarcastic. I go, is your seat wet? And she goes, yeah. I go, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the guy in the back, the 250 pound, 6'3" guy that thought he wanted to go on a ride with me because he was pissing himself. I knew her seat was wet. I come out of that fucking, dealership sideways, grabbing second gear, just fucking, oh, it was so much fun. Anyway, sometimes you got to be full of piss and vinegar, but, so I peeled the sticker off the window, and he got all fucking frumpy about it. And I was like, what are you so distraught about? He's like, oh, by law, that's got to be on there. And that's when it fucking clicked. I was like, oh, fuck, that's the offer. That's the offer. And it has to be there by law because everything that's ever manufactured is already fucking paid for. It's abandoned property on an open warehouse
Oh
lot
my
waiting to be
God.
fucking claimed. And all you got to
Oh
do is convert the
my
fucking offer into a bill of exchange, accept
thanks.
it for its value,
Thanks. This
authorize the
one.
transfer of credits, and
Thanks
pay
you.
the fucking
Oh
tax.
my God.
What if you get a good picture of it and perfect that?
Why do that when you can just go to lot and pull the motherfucker off, photo scan it after you write everything up on it, convert it into a bill of exchange, and send it back to them via registered mail number? So you have a federal witness, which is your federal postal employees, that you made the transfer and transaction and paid the fucking taxes. Because
Because
remember,
think
nothing happens
about
without
this.
the United States Post Office and the
That's
United
right.
States Postal Service being involved.
That is the post office is the bank, the big bank. Even the banks, the IRS still got an address coming to a
Benjamin
post
Franklin
office.
borrowed like $15,000 and he paid every
Follow me,
fucking
follow
penny
me
back
now.
to start the
Now,
United States
banks
Post
cannot
Office.
give loans, right?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Now, even when the application, the promissory note presented, when you go to the car dealership, they always want to try to get you financed. They want, let me see your credit score, and let me see. They running your credit score, but so we cut the middleman
That's
out. And
because
when we,
they're turning it into a
Yes.
commercial transaction instead of a consumer transaction.
that's right. But even
There's
then,
consumer
it
credit transactions and then there's commercial transactions. And if you read your car deal, it'll start out as an automobile at the top and you're the purchaser, and then at the bottom you're the debtor and it's a motor fucking vehicle. Now, how in the fucking 30 minutes did it go from an automobile and me being the purchaser, meaning that I made the presentment and payment, because the promise is the money, right?
that's right, because the act without the
Satisfies
application
the
is with
alleged
the bank.
obligation. And then all of a sudden at the bottom, I've entered into a new contract where I'm declaring it to be a motor vehicle, which is commercial, which means it has to be registered. So the dealership has to turn around and send the MSO to the Secretary of State and Attorney General, because now it's a commercial thing. So then they send it over to the DMV, and the DMV is the one where they lodge the lien with the DMV, not the Secretary of State. So everybody's doing UCC 11s looking for a lien they ain't never going to find because it's fucking leaned at the fucking
DMV.
DMV.
In the
Yep.
DMV.
falsified a fucking record. They failed to they concealed material facts. They misrepresented material facts. They got you in an artifice and a scheme by a false conveyance of language. Now you notice I ain't saying the word fraud. See, fraud.
Anyone familiar with the PS form 8165? If I'm not mistaken. Nobody. Somebody look that up right quick. Bring that on chat. PS form 8165.
And I'm not saying you won't have to sue these
The
cats.
postal inspection, though, like we all learning, like, cause I learned a lot from y'all too, though. But you know what I mean? We all coming together. We waking up. But y'all ain't heard of that? Look that up. And I'm like, everything's coming to the light. Everything's coming to the
You want to know how
light.
you can go get your house tomorrow?
Yes,
The
I'ma send
real
it
estate
immediately.
agent. The real estate agent has the offer from the grantor, offering it to anybody who's willing to accept it as grantee,
That's
right?
right.
Uh
But
huh.
see, at the end of the day, this is what makes it so brilliant. When you realize that they want to sell the house, so it's up. You have to look at that house first. They have to show you around that house, and you have to decide
Well,
whether
here's
you
where
want to
people
buy that
fuck
house
up.
or
They
not.
start to negotiate on the price, and now they make it commercial instead of accepting the offer. If you just accept the offer, it's just a barter and trade. The second you
Yeah,
start negotiating, now it's commercial.
yeah. See, say for instance, even if I go see the house, let me show y'all right now because it's for everybody. I want to go see the house. Me and him can go and look at the house. If I decide if I like it, I would tell him, well, let's negotiate the contract. Even if you want your little payments out of the deal included into this contract, fully disclosed and signed so that I can take it to my bank.
Well, I'm not going to negotiate anything. I'm going to pay full price. I'll cover all the taxes. I
That's
just
right.
need the
I want the
offer.
payoff
Give me the offer
statement.
that the
The
grantor
payoff
signed with his
statement.
wedding signature. I'm going to endorse it, convert it into a negotiable instrument, a bill of exchange, not a promissory note, because a
That's
promissory note
right.
comes with interest, right? Which means there's
Oh my
payments and all that
God.
other stuff due and owing.
No.
Okay.
Oh my
A
God.
letter of credit, you can convert it into a letter of credit. And guess what? The bank has to accept it because if they don't, it's a violation of Title 15, subsection 1, subpart 1, interference with trade and commerce, comes at $100 million fine for anybody engaged in it. And it's also comes to $1 million fine for the one who enacted it or participated in it. So why is that? That's because that's how they float government. They need us. See, I figured this out in 2008 when Barack Obama came out, this Harvard Yale yuppie, and he's like, the only way we can get out of debt is to spend our way out of debt. And I go, that has got to be the most
No.
ignorant motherfucking statement
dumbest
I have
thing
ever
ever.
heard any motherfucker say. And he did it on national television. What a dumb motherfucker. And then I got to learning the law and I started thinking about it. I was like, oh my God, he told everybody the truth on national fucking television. We are the ones that create the money. They need us as a
Yes.
consumer nation to issue the new money for the goods they've already paid in advance to produce, which belong to us. And they are nothing more than trustees warehousing the inventory for us. It's abandoned fucking property. And we're coming in there and engaging in commerce, being fucking
This is
retarded.
the
Instead of
question.
asserting our rights and
Created the
fucking
credits.
negotiating the deal, paying the fucking taxes on it. And paying taxes, ladies and gentlemen, isn't with Federal Reserve notes. You can't tender a debt with a debt. You can't satisfy a debt with a
Right.
fucking debt. How do you satisfy the debt? By the way that you draw up the instrument.
Accepting it or discharging it. Like, how you, like, oh my God, man. And why these people are sitting back, letting people suffer, getting
Well, you
kicked
got to
out
go
of
read the
houses,
Bill of Exchange Act of
foreclosing people.
1882, the one that they published in Canada. They published the UCC here because they didn't want to publish the 1882 Bill of Exchange Act here. You can find it, don't get me wrong, but it's not like go online and find the one in Canada because it's the same one used in the United States, except for the language for Canada is a little bit different when it pertains specifically to Canada, but it's internationally adopted, ladies and gentlemen, because they're all operating under international law. So they can do international business with their charters, which are the constitutions.
Isn't it heartless for them to know that they possess, when a person do apply for a house, they come and take the person's house because they didn't tell them that they have to properly
Title 12,
endorse
United
it?
States Code 632. Look it up. It is
Which
illegal and
entity?
unlawful for a state court to foreclose on a house on a mortgage. It's illegal to have a mortgage. Here, put me on the big screen. I'm going to show you guys something. Lord help me. I probably shouldn't be showing everybody this shit, but I'm going to do it.
Hey,
Let
them
me
people bold lately, man. To
Let me
take your
find the picture
application,
for
still
you.
make
Hold
you
on
pay
one
for it.
second. Let me find
Still
the
make you
picture
pay
for you.
for it and take
The
your house.
undisputed.
Whoops, that didn't do it. How did I do that last time?
Yeah,
I
right
had-
quick, real quick, if y'all don't mind. So, which entity would you create your bill of exchange from? So, for what I was talking about earlier, would you do it?
Derek Chaton Gonzalez, uppercase, lowercase, authorized representative for Derek Chaton Gonzalez, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with the dashes in there, 610 in 1984.
All right.
Debit. See, if you go read 31 CFR 357, the Treasury tells you exactly how the 5 hypothetical scenarios of how you negotiate or give directives to how the funds are to be debited and credited. Because that's the problem. You ain't telling anybody, you ain't telling the Federal Reserve to debit this account and credit this account. You have a master account with the Federal Reserve Bank. Look, when a bank tells you that you didn't qualify for an extension of credit, you need to immediately tell that loan officer, I want the letter from the Federal Board of Governors denying me an extension of my credit, because they're the only ones that can deny you. And the Treasury says the only way they can deny you is if there's a discrepancy with identification, meaning they can't properly fucking identify you.
So, for
I had
those
to find that out the hard way myself, and by studying the law and listening to y'all, I knew that it's like, okay, they cannot deny me extension of my own credit. I think it's 15 United States Code. I think 1611, if I'm not mistaken.
it's more.
Denial.
But for those of us who have put a UCC1 over our debtor and did a declaration to change our name to a different living name, would I do it from my living name? Because I did a POA over my debtor with my living name, new living name. Uh-oh.
It's all good. He's probably looking up something real quick.
Yeah.
One thing I do know, we're all getting so close, and it's becoming to a head that because so many of us are seeking, we're tired. We're tired of being oppressed. We're tired of suffering.
Okay, here you go. Put me on the big screen. I'm going to share this with you guys for you. I want you guys to all screenshot this stuff.
In Nash,
That one paragraph right there destroys all mortgages, destroys all liens, destroys everything that the bankers are doing. If he throws me up on a big screen, you guys can screenshot it.
Hey, host, Nat Undisputed. I'm not sure if he's still there. Can you hear us? Is the host still there?
Real quick, while you were gone, Derek, for a second, is for those of us who have a UCC1 over our debtor and have declared a new living name and have a POA or DPOA over our
See,
living
that's the
name.
problem. You think that you have a lien or a notice of interest over the that proves we're in the. That's why they always talk bummed out the fact that people aren't feeding and breeding anymore because they're losing their negotiation pieces internationally, because for the populace to grow and for the system to work, people need to be breeding. But they turned creating a family into a war where they grant women half of what the man owns and take his children from him and then leave him destitute and not enough funds to even get hot dogs, right? So men don't want to have relationships anymore. Well, what that ended up happening is, in order to sustain a population, when two people get together, they at least have to have 3 children, and in many instances, at least 3.5 children, just to sustain the population. All right. In order to grow a population, you have to have 4.5 to 6 children per couple in order to grow a population. And the reason for that is there's always the inevitable of sudden death syndrome or, whatever. Accidents occur and stuff. So you increase the population by breeding, but they've turned breeding into a war now. So they damage their own feedlot with their legislation because they're greedy bastards. And now men and women despise each other, and then they promote all this sexual promiscuity and stuff that doesn't lead to prosperity and people that want to have 3 or 4 kids and raise a family, right? Then plus with technology, it used to be back in the day after World War II, somebody get 1,200 acres. Well, you needed 6 or 8 crotch goblins to help you run 1,200 acres. The machinery wasn't equipped enough and good enough to manage all that land by yourself. But that's what you needed in order to take care of your family and be productive. Well, then as technology advanced, you got combine tractors that can do 36 rows of corn. They mow down 1,200 acres in a week, where it used to take the whole family going out there to pick corn and all that stuff and cut the hay and the wheat and the rye and everything else. And so naturally people didn't breed as much because, well, you don't need as many crotch goblins. All right. And then, of course, with inflation, because when you create a fiat system is designed to implode naturally. From its inception, it will never be more valuable than the day that it's released to the general populace for use. So the Federal Reserve note now doesn't even have, it's lost like 99.9% of its buying power because fiat from its inception is designed to implode. That's not Derek analysis and theory. That's a fact. And we learned that from the Romans, when they started mixing alloys with the gold and diminishing the value. And then they started issuing brass instead of gold coins. And they started keeping all the gold and silver, which the Bible tells you over and over and over, gold and silver is the only thing that has value. Why? Because it's what God only put enough on the earth to suffice. And that's why we're not supposed to have interest. Interest is bad. You help your brother and sister when you can. And when you can't, you tell them that you can't. You don't help them and say, oh, by the way, I'm going to put some accruing interest on that. That's not the way of the Lord. We're supposed to take care of our brothers and sisters. But the banksters, the little heathens, the little devils that they are with these bar association rats, are all about fucking stealing and taking away. That's why the whole thing with Israel is funny to me, because that's why the Jesuits have been run out of 148 plus different nations throughout the ages, is because that's what they were doing. That's why when you listen to Rabbi Finkelstein talk about, which I think it's funny, his name sounds like fecal matter to me, not Finkelstein or Finkelbeebe or whatever it is. But he talks about Goyim and they're just cattle and they're just animals and they're meant to be used and abused. You know who runs the largest, in fact, all porn sites? This is going to blow your fucking mind. It's a Jewish rabbi. You know who runs OnlyFans? He gets 1/3 of every dollar fucking made from the girls being nude and nasty and provocative and stuff. Guess who runs it? It's a rabbi. It's a rabbi. He owns the motherfucker. So on one end, they're preaching the word of God, allegedly, talking about euthanizing everybody that doesn't have their ideology, alleging that Islam is the worst religion ever, when Islam actually recognizes Jesus as being a prophet. They don't look at it in the way of Christianity, but they at least acknowledge it, which is interesting. But when you get a hold of these Jewish bastards that run Israel and the Rothschilds, Hitler was a Rothschild, by the way, too. All of them changed their names. Go look. Every last one of them fuckers changed their names. They're all Rothschild affiliate. Every president of the United States is related to each other. Hillary Rodham Clinton is like fourth cousins to fucking Trump. And Trump is related to the Bushes and so on and so forth. They're all fucking related. It's a family-run business and organization. There are 3 popes. I bet you guys didn't know that shit. There are 3 fucking popes. You got the gray pope, the black pope, and the white pope. And it has nothing to do with their skin color. It has everything to do with status.
Yeah, I can see that. Status.
There's melanated men. There's people that have more pigment in their skin, and then there's less melanated. There's no such thing as colder. It's just less heat. There's no such thing as dark. It's just less light. But when people run around going, I'm black, I'm white, I'm brown, I'm green, I'm yellow, it's ignorance. You're identifying as an inanimate thing, an object, then it makes no fucking sense at all. And then you wonder why you're being treated as an object. I can't tell you how many times I've been on calls where people are like, you're black, I'm black, we black. Man, stop saying that shit. Let's be proper about it, because words have power and they have fucking meaning. I'm a man. Who did God tell you are? You're a man and a woman with dominion. He didn't say you black and you white and you brown. He said you're a man. You have fucking dominion. You have duties and obligations and responsibilities as a steward of this estate that I created for you guys. Take care of it. Honor your mother and father. Put no other God above God himself. He's admitting there are other gods. He's telling you there are other gods when he says, put no other God above me. He's telling you it exists. After all, he deemed Lucifer to be God of this earth. So he's telling you.
And with that being so, say we just did the declaration of changing our name and we made that public notice, but we're filling out this BOE and this promissory
Name
note.
decrees are a good thing because you're nameless. Just like you want to know why people get evicted from their house when they think they're the owner? Because they're a tenant on it. But if you actually look legally speaking at the document, you ain't even a tenant. That's a false and fictitious assumed business name on that warranty deed, joint tenancy deed, and you don't own it. It's a false and fictitious document. The title insurance company did an unlawful conversion and converted it into an entity. And so technically you're a squatter. You're not even a tenant. There's no evidence that you own that false and fictitious name. Nobody owns it. It's abandoned property. And therefore the United States comes back in and collects on it. The lot block parcel ID number, the zone improvement project number belongs to the DOD. It's for military purposes of identification during a military hostile takeover. The address belongs to a municipality, and the lot block parcel ID number belongs to the county. Say what? Seriously? So why did you allow them to put all that shit on your property? So you never bought land, you bought real estate, but you never even bought real estate because you didn't complete the transaction. You didn't negotiate the instrument properly. You abandoned your interest in it. You never consummated the deal. You gave value, they gave no consideration, but you didn't make no issue about it. You didn't demand their performance.
So if you put in a trust or patent it, then a land patent, then it's secured.
Well, the land patent's already been issued. They'll never issue another land patent again unless they divvy up the federal territories. But I don't think they'll do that because they already got that shit promised to China and Bangladesh and fucking Australia and everywhere else. But I'll tell you what you can do is you pull a letters patent forward, and now you have, according to Summa Corp versus the state of California, you have superior equitable title. You have root title.
No, loyal title. Yeah, that's what you get. The little title, and then once you got that, then definitely put it into a trust.
But do you guys understand why the letters patent and land patent is so prestigious? Because it was granted to the heirs. No, because it was granted to the heirs and assigns forever, meaning it could never be ascertained by the government again. It always transfers to the heirs and assign, and that's why they created this legal title, which is mere shadow of equitable title. Legal title always gets destroyed under the doctrine of merger. When legal and equitable title merge together, now you're grantee absolute. You have root title, perfected title. Nobody has a higher claim than you. And Summa Corp versus the state of California, where the judge says we have ruled on this and ruled on this and ruled on this matter, and this court will not rule on this matter again. Essentially, they're issuing a warning to all bar association members. When somebody comes forward with letters patent, you better fucking yield or we are going to sanction you and throw you in prison. We do not want this issue brought up anymore. It has been ruled on and ruled on and ruled on, and damn you fuckers for making us fucking hash this shit out again. It's already been decided. It's well established.
Hey, would you mind if I can get, I don't know if you would like to do this, but send me a personal message, and I'd like to study your document there or whatever that, for I'd like to study that.
Yeah, it's one paragraph. It's the baddest fucking paragraph on the planet. I got it from Carl Killicott, and it proves that Congress never authorized banks to extend to have liens on real property in the United States, issue mortgages on real property in the United States, do business in the several states with the American people, take deposits from the American people, never authorized servicing companies to make you subject as third-party debt collectors. It's all right there. See, because they didn't create a law saying they can do any of that shit. Instead, what they did was dispositive statements saying what they can't do, and then left it open to interpretation. How they're getting away with it is your next question. Well, how are they doing it then? Because Article 1, Section 10 says government can't impede the obligation of contract. You motherfuckers run around fucking contracting with these fools. But in order to destroy that contract, you just need to ask them, show me in the law where Congress authorized you to do business domestically in the several states. And they're going to go, oops. And then you're going to tell the state court judge, this is the wrong venue under Title 12632. You rule on this matter. Anybody that issues a decree, judgment, or order in a foreclosure is subject to 30 years in prison and a $1 million fine. The proper jurisdiction for this is federal court. Why? Because everything is under federal bankruptcy. So it's all to be handled in the federal courts, period. And then, of course, the federal court judge is going to agree with Congress. And now you're no longer the party arguing the issue. The issue is between the third party debt collector, the alleged original creditor, and Congress. It has fuck all to do with you. In fact, not all real parties have been put on notice in this matter, and therefore this case must be dismissed. And you don't have to tell them who the other real party in interest is. It's the United States of America. It needs to be listed as a fucking defendant. But they won't do that because then the Treasury come in and clean their fucking clock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Book of Johnson is trying to ask you. He asked one of us to read you his last two comments. It says, I've got 27 pages of land deeds in my great-grandfather's name. Can you help me claim them? And then it says, I'll give you land if you help me claim the 3,700 land patents in my grandfather's name.
You got to go back through the Register of Deeds and tie every deed. It's called the chain of title, chain of custody, and chain of evidence. And you got to tie every last one of those warranty deeds, joint tenancy deeds, trust deeds, deeds, all the way back to the letters patent, and call the letters patent forward in your good name. However, if the property has been sold, okay, to somebody else, all right, it's not equitable for you to go rip it out from underneath them like that. So you would have to go ahead and make the negotiation to acquire it, then being the grantor, you being the grantee, and then go back all the way to the letters patent and call it forward in your good name. And then you turn around and tell the tax assessor, remove my property from your tax roll because it's not commercial. It's not used for commercial purposes. That's why, look, the title insurance company put clout on title. All right. And they're claiming that they got to protect the innocent third party purchasers, which are really the tranchers through the investment system by the trustee who turns around and negotiates it with an investment company. The investment company turns around and takes that note and goes back to the Federal Reserve and monetizes it 40 times its value. All right. Now, under fractional reserve lending rules and regulations, they're only supposed to be able to do it 10 times. But when you start going through the, what the fuck are they? The circulars for the Federal Reserve, they talk about how the investors can come back and they can monetize the instrument for 40 times its value, which is an impossibility because one note can never satisfy all those investors, right? So then they sell stock certificates off the original pledge with the authorization of the Federal Reserve, depending on how you qualified your endorsement. If you qualified your endorsement to be satisfied and settled at the Treasury, they can't do that. They have to act as physical agents of the Treasury and go turn it over to the United States Treasury that zero balances it. But if you do a blank endorsement, they run off with that shit.
Yes, they do.
And so at closing, they say, hey, you need to sign this paperwork. Nobody ever asks, are these legal documents that have legal consequences? Because if you ask that, they have to tell you yes. If they don't tell you yes and you sign them, right then and there, they're the ones that carry the primary active degree of fault for false, misleading, and deceptive trade practices, because those documents are really a service and product they provide to you, which is called a mortgage. And they're getting you on the hook, and you're giving them power of attorney. And if you read it really carefully, you grant them the rights to your future interest, dividends, derivatives, debentures, hediments, general tangibles, general intangibles, chattel, security, trust residuals, rents, profits, proceeds, futures, and annuities that are due and owing to you. And you grant it all to them and agree on top of that to give them $3,000 a month for the next 36 months or 52 months or whatever the fuck it is. It's fucking asinine. It's insane. When really at closing, what you should be asking them is there a law that requires me to have a mortgage or to get a mortgage in order for this transaction to be complete? Who has my clear and marketable title? Because when you called me and said, congratulations, you've been approved, that means the Treasury has the credits to you. And now it's a matter of debiting and crediting the proper accounts.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah.
Can't wait to try.
This is where you gave value and they gave no consideration.
Interesting.
I can't
Well,
wait
thank
to
you,
try
Derek.
that process to get home. Yeah.
People to prove too, all you got to do is do a FOIA request to the SEC for the MoneyNet Daily Log. One, it shows the source of the fund and the destination of the funds, and it'll show how the bank has power of attorney implied. Sometimes it's actual power of attorney because you sign a document that says you agreed to grant us power of attorney. Other times it's just implied because you gave them something of value and automatically makes them a trustee and they have presumed and assumed power of attorney. And so,
Yeah.
and you
Starting to
gave
cut
up
up,
your free
buddy.
marketable title for a benefit and a privilege called making payments.
Did you oh. Well, thank you, Derek, man, for your information. I'd love to go over to that document right there. If you could personally message me that, but I've got to get some sleep.
I love y'all.
Anywhere until
a little bit. I don't know everything there is. Don't just take my word as the gospel of John.
Oh, I know.
Please, there's no
You'll look
substitution
it
for
up.
reading. That's why I keep pointing out all the documents and all the literature and where I get this information from. None of this has been conjectural. I didn't just get this out of my head. I read the circulars 1 through 12. 11 is missing, and we know bankers can count at least a fucking 12. So where is circular 11? Well, they keep that private, but you can find it. It's floating around on the internet. Go read 31 CFR 357. It shows you the 5 hypothetical situations on which bank transactions are made. I love reading from ecfr.gov because ecfr.gov gives you everything in fucking common layman's terms English versus the UCC is circular in its nature. You got Black's Law Dictionary, which is a big fucking pain in the ass, and they're always altering it and changing it and shit. The USC is nothing more than hypotheticated paraphrased statements. So if you really want to know what Congress said, you got to get into the statutes at large. You got to go read the documents produced by the Congress assembled. Then you'll actually have the real language and the actual law, because the United States Code is published by a private publishing company, and they paraphrase shit all the fucking time. Like when you actually go read Title 15 from the archivist, and then you compare it to the USC publication, you will see there is a clear difference in words that they leave out, and words have meaning and they have fucking power. And when they change the commas and the periods, they change the context of the statements being made. And so you're quoting things out of context and they're going, you don't know how to fucking read. That's not what that says. That's what you think it says. They're not telling you that the USC is published by a private publishing company that's run by a bunch of bar attorneys that love creating riffraff by paraphrasing shit.
Thanks, guys. Well, thank you a lot, Derek.
And then you got the Federal Table of Authorities. Go read the Federal Table of Authorities to show where the foundation is in law. So you got the CFR, the USC, the UCC, you got state statutes and codes and stuff, but you always want to see the enacting clause. Where's the enactment? When did this become legitimate? Is it positive law or is it non-positive law? Right?
Wow.
Non-positive law means you have to agree to it, and then it's a contract. Positive law is like, for example, thou shalt not murder. That's in a negative dispositive statement, but everybody knows that to murder with ill will and ill intent is wrong, right? So it's positive law. Thou shalt not murder.
That makes sense. I get that.
Everybody agrees on that universally. The Bible doesn't say thou shalt not kill, because there's a time to protect your family, your community, your loved ones, your friends, your family, and there's a time to put food on the table. It says thou shalt not murder with ill will, bad intent, with malicious thought process, right?
Makes sense. Yeah. got the right to protect yourself and your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Derek, I'd like to know, are you willing to mentor anyone or be...
That's what we're doing now.
Well, yeah, yes, but
I do classes.
I just got evicted,
It takes a lot of
and I'm
time
trying to
put
get
a
a
class together. It's just it's so labor intensive to put classes together. There's so much information. My last class went for almost 72 hours straight was my last class. For 72 hours straight.
Shit.
And finally, my wife came in and unplugged the computer and said, "Good night, guys. You guys are going to fucking kill him because he won't stop until you understand what he's talking about. And you're going to put this man in his grave." So,
well, maybe not a class.
I can
but
totally get that, man. You sound
Maybe
you're very
not-
passionate in what you do. It's awesome.
maybe not a class, but
because they pissed on my back and tried to convince me it was raining while they were running roughshod over me. And I looked over my shoulder and saw their little dick hanging out. I was like, "Oh, you motherfucker, what's wrong now?" Then I got in touch with the Heavenly Father, and I'm going to tell you right now, they